I'm James McHale, Professor and Chair of Psychology at the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg, and Director of USF St. Petersburg's Family Study Center. I'm here today to talk about the opening article in the special section on co-parenting in fragile families, a report called Coparenting Interventions for Fragile Families, What Do We Know and Where Do We Need to Go Next? My co-authors on this paper are Maureen from Cornell University and Jessica Pearson from the Center for Policy Research. Our reasons for contributing to this special section with a review paper on programming that has explicitly targeted co-parenting and triangular family processes in fragile families are pretty straightforward. Today, just over 2 of every 5 new births in the United States are non-marital births, including more than half of all births to women under age 30. We've been working diligently to try to understand how infant family dynamics evolve in families headed by low-income unmarried parents, because they are a diverse lot. Some cohabit, some live apart, some have a committed relationship of some duration, some are on again, off again, and some never had any sustained romantic relationship before the baby's conception. To date, most empirical studies of co-parenting and child development have been carried out with committed married couples. However, we're now beginning to see data indicating that co-parenting alliances can and do also materialize during the infant and toddler years in fragile families, even if there's no sustained romantic involvement, so long as the adults remain on reasonably good terms. With the growing number of fragile family systems in the United States and the positive impact that positive co-parenting alliances stand to have for children who grow up in such families, even absent romantic commitment between their parents, we felt the time was right to take stock of what we know about fostering mother-father co-parenting alliances in fragile families. Over the past 2 decades, we've seen a number of important marriage and relationship education programs and responsible fatherhood initiatives that have provided some useful clues about family formation and dynamics in fragile families. But at the same time, there has been relatively limited focus on understanding and intervening to promote co-parenting alliances in families that may never pursue marriage, and that's where this review article comes into play. Our report examines co-parenting intervention studies for fragile families that have produced published or at least publicly vetted outcome data. But even so, this is a really new field of study, and the fact is that relatively few investigations were explicitly conceived to specifically promote co-parenting by unmarried parents. So for this reason, we also comment in the paper on pertinent lessons learned both from marriage and relationship enhancement programs for low-income unmarried couples and from access and visitation programs for non-residential fathers, where co-parenting may have been an indirect target. We think it's especially important that readers understand the conceptualization of co-parenting that guides this review. About 20 years ago now, child development researchers shed what had been a rather limited view of co-parenting as a state defined by legal agreements about who's recognized as the child's legal father, who has access to the child where the child lives, and who possesses ultimate legal decision-making authority for the child. The contemporary view, exemplified by the work of the leading researchers who contributed to McHale and Lindau's 2011 volume on co-parenting for APA books, is that co-parenting dynamics can exist in any family system. This is a truer family system conceptualization, and one that's consistent with Salvador Minuchin's structural family theory. Co-parenting is now understood as a centrally important family process for every team of adults that works together to socialize, care for, and raise children for whom they share responsibility. And the systemic reconceptualization is relevant because it acknowledges and honors the life circumstances of every child, including the millions of American children co-parented by unmarried fathers and by other family caregivers who are not formally recognized by the system of law. It also focuses attention on triangular relationship systems, which are vital to the emotional lives of children, but often invisible to those less attuned to the inner workings of families. One of the major distinctions we make in the paper is between front-end and back-end programs. Back-end programs are those created for post-divorce families. These programs have sometimes been migrated forward, either in part or sometimes nearly in total, for use with expectant and new unmarried parents. By contrast, front-end programs were created specifically for those expectant or new parents. Most of these reckon with the reality that mothers and fathers in fragile families typically will not bring the same sustained relationship history as do divorced parents as the background for their new co-parenting efforts. Our paper also addresses the fact that families headed by unmarried parents are diverse. We take special pains to draw attention to the nature of the groups researchers have targeted for participation in their programs. We also comment on the manner of the initiative's outreach and referral, because when evaluating reports of the effectiveness of any intervention program, it's important to understand who was actually served by the program and who did not take part. Finally, we close the piece by identifying a set of centrally important issues about the design of effective interventions that now demand dedicated attention. This field is in its infancy, and we're a long way from being in a place where we can select from a set of best or even promising practices, though we anticipate that there will be a burgeoning of relevant research reports to come over the next decade or so. In the meantime, we hope readers will find this article useful in bringing them up to speed on the state of this field, and maybe also challenging or restructuring existing perspectives of co-parenting in fragile families toward a more systemic and triangular view of such family systems. Research has confirmed what Mnuchin maintained long ago, that children stand to profit immensely when co-parenting alliances in families are strong, cooperative, and collaborative. The promise before us, if we fully embrace the potentials of this field to foster better health and adjustment for children, is exciting. We hope you enjoy the paper.